I'm not convinced it ain't no acting or accident what the track emits. You strapped with gas that you ain't even practiced with. The fact is, you couldn't hit the target the size of a track.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. So today we're going to talk about Smackdown and the WWE Hall of Fame. And I punished myself by actually staying up to watch both. Not only watched, when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I only watched the Steiner brothers and Undertaker do their speeches. So that's all we're going to talk about. I didn't watch the rest of the show. So we're going to talk about Smackdown. This is a real bad idea. I'm going to be very salty at work tomorrow. I may be very salty in my WrestleMania review. Because I'm probably not going to have enough sleep. I probably won't get no sleep till Monday. Anyway, Smackdown from April the 1st, 2022. Starts with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which was won by Madcap Moss. Jesus H. Christ. Madcap Moss, I've always said that I'm not sure if WWE really likes this guy or if they hate his guts. I think I'm still uncertain because the winners of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or the Andre, as I call it, it's not exactly the huge push it sounds like. It's kind of a, hey, we like this guy, kind of. You know, Jey Uso won. It's the only solo award he's ever won. Is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. The match itself featured very little storytelling. Aziz and Shanky had a face-off. It was really bad. Ziggler was in it. Rude was in it. Balor was in it. And he was the last person thrown out. Balor had a rough night. Really, really rough night. So Madcap Moss, the jokester, wins on April Fool's Day. How about that? He got on the microphone and then said that he always looked up to Andre and it was his hero. And he says that everyone loved Andre just like everyone loves him. It was absolutely silly. And he continued throughout the night after winning. Him and Baron Corbin continued to play around with the sword of Drew McIntyre in the final segment of the show. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was a happy talk segment that featured a long vignette between Corbin and McIntyre. And it featured Corbin talking about how he's going to destroy Drew McIntyre and that Angela is a dangerous thing in his hands because he could really hurt somebody with this thing. And he said, but the name is very depressing because Angela is McIntyre's dead mom. He said he wanted to rename it. He wanted to rename it Euphoria. And then he came up with a your mama joke. The joke goes that what does the sword and Drew McIntyre's mom have in common? And it says he lost them both. Then, of course, that means Drew McIntyre comes out there. He completely flattens our Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner, knocking him out in the aisleway. And he never returned, by the way. Then he got in the ring and Happy Corbin fled, so he was able to get his sword back. Drew McIntyre then cut the table in half and threatened to do bad things to Baron Corbin. I was not thrilled with this. Not thrilling at all. Not thrilling at all. Madcap Moss winning the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is fine. I really would have preferred it to be somebody better, but when you look at the field, outside of Finn or Priest, I mean, who else you got? You know, it is what it is. All right, Ricochet defeated Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza to maintain being the Intercontinental Championship. The 630 into the recoil finish was a highlight reel finish. They really did a good job of making Ricochet look strong here because he took out both members of Los Lotharios. He did a giant arm drag off the top rope, and then Angel did some really great body language work in here as he looked like he was going to turn on Humberto at one point, as you know, he kind of was looking real sus, as the kids say. But I never understood that because, like, is it suspicious? Is it suspect? Is it sustainable? Is it sustenance? Like, there's a lot of sus words. In any event, Angel was very upset that Humberto kept trying to win. Then Humberto actually rolled up Garza, then they argued. So it was a typical triple threat match with the two guys working together at first, and then the breakdown of their working together, and then eventually Ricochet took them both out. So Ricochet finally wins the match, but it's not nearly enough to get him on WrestleMania. And at least he's one of the two singles champions that's not getting beat. Well, one of the few champions that didn't get beat on this show. There was a vignette for Kevin Owens and Steve Austin. It was what it was. Naomi and Sasha Banks defeated Carmella and Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega and Carmella have lost like every match for the last month, which is almost guaranteed, and now they're going to win at WrestleMania. It's so stupid. I hate WWE's booking. It's so shitty. There's footage of Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler training. Ronda Rousey was, the interviewer. What is her name? Schreiber? I don't know. She says that she would have thought Ronda Rousey was going to be upset. And Ronda says, I am upset. I'm pretty angry, but I can't walk around being drained and angry all the time. So I'm going to put in the work here. And when I see Charlotte, either she's going to tap out or I'm going to rip her arm off. Then Charlotte and Ronda, they played the vignette. Then Charlotte started talking about all these things that are cool, herself included. I rolled my eyes and I was like, I don't understand this. There was no money in this. All we know is that she said she's going to destroy Ronda. She played with the crowd for a little bit and said that Ronda doesn't have her anger under control and she's going to take advantage of it. That was kind of the be all end all of that. Rick Boogs and Nakamura was coming out to have a singles match with Jimmy Uso and Rick Boogs. Pat McAfee was dancing on the table, which is, his normal thing. It's what he does when Nakamura is out there. Austin Theory came out of nowhere and picked the ankle and caused Pat McAfee to fall flat on his back on the table. Now, I'm glad he didn't break the table, but it would have been funnier if he did. Pat McAfee then chases Austin Theory up the ramp to the back, and he chases, and of course Austin Theory gets to Vince McMahon's office and slams the door. This is absolute Tom and Jerry. This is absolute Tom and Jerry. So Pat McAfee now is so frustrated, he kicks Vince McMahon's door open. Then Vince comes out into the hallway, and he is very angry. And he says that, you want me to fire you? You want me to cancel this match at WrestleMania? And while Vince is yelling at Pat McAfee, Austin Theory has this shit-eating grin on his face behind Vince. And I loved that. It was fantastic stuff. It was fantastic stuff. And and Pat McAfee, of course, backed down and went back to his commentator seat. And Michael Cole was being a good friend and telling him, oh, he's going to kick his ass. Don't worry about it. You'll get your hands on him. What was it, tomorrow night or Sunday night or whatever. He's going to get your hands on him eventually. So this was great. So they finally go out there. They have the match, Jimmy Uso and Rick Boogs. Then Austin Theory comes out there again. This time he chucks a cup at Pat McAfee and runs away. McAfee considers chasing him this time, but Finn Balor ends up catching up on him. Finn Balor punched him in the back of the head. He got him into the ring. The Uso Rick Boogs match, which featured Rick Boogs bench pressing Jimmy Uso from his knees to his feet, which was incredible. Gets thrown out. It's a no contest. We come back, 6-man tag, Nakamura and Boogs and Balor versus the Usos and Austin Theory. Then Austin Theory defeats Finn Balor and taunts Pat McAfee afterwards. That was, I hate that Finn Balor lost this match. I absolutely hate it. God, I hate it. What the fuck did he do? Who did he piss off? He must have said something, done something. They really are shitting on Finn Balor. But this Pat McAfee, Vince McMahon thing is tremendous. Did you see the video of Vince McMahon squatting 1,000 pounds at 76 years old? He sent Pat McAfee this video where he says that Austin Theory was in the gym. He sent it to him at 3 a.m., but it was obviously recorded before that because it was like light outside. And he said that Austin Theory was putting in work in the gym, and that Austin Theory is going to kick Pat McAfee's ass. But the important thing here is Vince McMahon at 76 years old squatted 1,000 pounds. That's amazing. That dude is, somebody said that Vince McMahon is a cyborg, and I absolutely believe it. I believe that Vince McMahon is a cyborg, and he's tremendous. So that was SmackDown. Little to nothing of consequence actually occurred. It was mostly a recap show, building up matches for WrestleMania, which is, not that big of a deal really. But I really would prefer if they just played, like, did the 2 matches and then did the Hall of Fame from there. So the Hall of Fame really grinded my fucking gears, mainly because it took 15 minutes for them to change over the set. So there was a Hall of Fame kickoff show, which is horrible. I refuse to watch that. Then the first inductees was really good. They inducted the Steiner brothers. That was the first one. I love this. Braun Breaker did the introduction. It was short and sweet. He thanked Rick and Scott for laying the groundwork for him. Said that growing up in the Steiner household was really wild, but he made it through. And he said he's about to take the biggest risk of his career thus far and turn the mic over to his Uncle Scott. And so they played the music. And I was like, what on earth is this? Is this a rib? Is this like April Fool's Day rib? Like, what kind of music did they give the Steiners? I was so off put by the music. I was like, okay, whatever. So when they get to the podium, I was surprised at how composed Scotty was. Clearly his brain isn't the best because he was stumbling and stammering a lot. But Scott Steiner had the lion's share of the promo. And I think he's the one everybody wanted to hear from in the first place. And I loved the Steiner's speech. This was tremendous. So Scotty, of course, did his gimmick first. He's like, where are my freaks at in Texas? Then he said, giving him a live mic can sometimes go wrong. But he first thanked all the tag teams that they wrestled. He said he thanked all those guys because, it takes 4 to tango. And then he told a story about, meeting the Macho Man and hanging out with the Macho Man and driving with them when he came to the WWF. And he tells this story about cows, about him and Randy Savage on the side of the road in upstate New York, trying to get cows to come to them. And Steiner is mooing at the cows, and he's telling the cows that he got food. And he said he didn't know why he thought the cows spoke English, which was tremendous. And he said he doesn't know what Randy Savage said to the cows or did to the cows, but got the cows to chase him. And he said that he swears that Randy Savage knew those cows. So I guess this picture is psychotic Scott Steiner and a bigger psycho in Randy Savage out in the middle of nowhere screwing around with cows. That's hilarious. So Scott told all the wrestlers to have fun because one day they're going to be standing on that stage wondering where all the time went. And then he says that hard work pays off, that they wanted to do amateur wrestling. They did that. Hard work paid off. And they wanted to be a tag team. They did it. And they worked hard at it. And hard work paid off. And they became tag team champions all over the place. And that hard work paid off when he finally became the world champion. He really drove home the concept of hard work pays off, which is good. Good workman-like stuff there. He closed by saying that he wants his legacy to be his 2 sons and how much he loves his wife. Rick got on the microphone and thanked Scotty for saving him a little bit of time because Scotty just dominated the conversation, which, was probably the smart thing to do because everybody was super excited to see and hear from Scott. And then Rick says that they always did their best and that he thanked Scott for being there and for keeping him straight. And it was tremendous. I loved it. It was very classy. There was no drama. It was just Scotty being appreciative of all the things that he went through. I love the Steiner Brothers speech. It was very good. Now, Undertaker's Hall of Fame speech was an hour. It was like 60 minutes, legit 60 minutes. We started with Vince. So Vince says that Undertaker had all these qualities, loyalty and respect and toughness. Said he has love. He love for this business, love for the fans, love for his fellow workers. He said that WCW never called the Undertaker because they know he was never going to leave. So Vince and Undertaker, of course, have this bond, and it was great. And then when people were chanting "what" at Vince, he says he's going to call the Undertaker to come kick their ass, which, it made everybody laugh. So Undertaker came out there, and it was tremendous. They hugged. One of them said that they loved the other one. I think it was Undertaker saying he loved Vince. He wasn't in gimmick at all. Of course, he was wearing a suit. And the standing ovation he got, I think, lasted for nearly 10 minutes. It cycled through like 5 or 6 chants, from "thank you, Taker," to "you deserve it," to "rest in peace." There was just so many chants and so much clapping, and he was doing so much crying. I didn't think we were ever going to get through the damn speech. I was like, God damn. It's rare that you get somebody who get a standing ovation in any endeavor this long, and earned it, truly earned it. So he says eventually, in order to get the people to calm down, he started talking. So he says, for 30 years, his identity has been Undertaker, but he wants to show us the same respect that we've shown him. So he's going to teach us, or let us meet the man under the black hat, and how much he loves his business. And he sacrificed his health, his family, his privacy. And he thanked the WWE Universe first for being loyal, for being passionate, and for being a motivation for him to push through injuries and make it to the ring. Then he says that, he talked about his brother, who I think passed away, actually. And he says that when he was young, he was still in college and questioning what he should do. Should he graduate college? Should he go overseas and play basketball? Because he had spent 10 years consumed with basketball, but it's not really what he wanted to do. He had already started wrestling training and wanted to continue. His brother told him, you can't live your life for what other people think. And so he can't live his life for his parents or what anybody else thinks. So he had to go become a pro wrestler, because that's what he wanted to do. It was the only way to find his own true identity, was to face his own failures and be accountable for his own actions. And following his dream led to him becoming the Undertaker. I thought that was tremendous. So he starts talking about these mental signature moves, things that helped him get through life and things that matter to him, or, just kind of little guideposts to live by. And one was perception is reality. And he learned this one from Vince McMahon as he was working an enhancement talent or squash match. And it says that the kid that he was working with had botched several of his spots, so he roughed the kid up. And he says that he wasn't proud of that. And when he got to the back, he was still huffing and puffing and pissed because this kid had ruined his match. And Vince said that he was an asshole. And he said he wasn't proud of his actions that night, and that he learned that perception is reality, and everybody perceived him to be an asshole that night. And he didn't specify who his opponent was, but I think it would have been nice if he'd have told the guy, maybe give him a public apology, especially if you beat him up. And then he said he learned that his actions matter, and that's a lesson that he learned throughout the entirety of his career. And then he did a couple of thank yous to Shane and Stephanie, who were his siblings that he didn't want, and talked about how Shane drove him crazy, asking him questions and telling him about the insane bumps that he wanted to take. He thanked the Godfather, who he said was always an influence, but not necessarily a good one, which is, he said he drank gallons of Jack Daniels and fought over hats, watches, and everything else, but he knew he always had his back. He thanked BSK, of course, and said that he's going to take some of their stories to the grave and that he loved them. He thanked his 2 friends, or 3 friends, who passed away, Yokozuna, Crush, and Paul Bearer. He said that Crush and Paul Bearer were 2 guys who were not scared to rib him, and that Crush had talked him into going down to Florida to break bricks with their bare hands, which sounds absolutely barbaric. Like, why would you do that? That's not a rib. A rib is a trick. That's not a trick. that's a dummy mission. Anyway, he said Paul Bearer would put cucumbers in his drinks. Now that's a rib. So he thanked Kane for being a good friend and being one of the most genuine human beings he's ever known. And it says that Kane stole all his moves and did them better. And that Kane makes everyone around him better. And that led him to his second life lesson, which is treat people with respect, and that respect and loyalty go a long way. Then he tells the story of eating red beans and rice at home with his family. He's 25 years old and was the world champion at the time. And his dad asked him if he was paying his taxes. Then was he living below his means? And then he says, the toes that you step on your way up are connected to the asses that you have to kiss on your way down. And he said that, it put them all together to him. And he realized that you have to learn how to respect people, and that he wasn't more important than anyone else just because he was a world champion. He didn't make him more important than anybody else in the building. And that small acknowledgments can make someone's day or even save their life. And that was very good. I really enjoyed that one. That one was great. He thanked Dusty, Bruno, Flair for paving the way for guys like him. He thanked some other ancillary people like the stylist for The Undertaker, the doctors who helped him do surgeries. He thanked Bruce Pritchard for advocating for him to get a job in the first place. Then he went into the third point, which was never be content. And he said this one came from WrestleMania 25 when he was hanging out with Shawn Michaels. And that they asked as they were going over their match, how much time did they have and what was their place on the card? And Michael Hayes told them they were going on third and they had 15 minutes. And he said they were pretty pissed. and they raised some hell about it. And he said they got them a couple of extra minutes and got them put later in the day. And he said, even though this was WrestleMania 25, and these are two guys who don't have anything to prove, that they never are content. It's not, hey, you guys have been around for a long time. You don't have to do this. He says, no, we have to continue to push forward. We have to fail forward. And I thought that was really, really inspiring. He thanked Triple H for WrestleMania 27 and 28 and for reminding him who he is when his confidence was low, and that he was very proud of the moment that him and Shawn and Triple H had on the stage at WrestleMania 28 following the Hell in a Cell match, and that it truly was an end of an era. I thought that was beautiful stuff. He thanked his family and his parents, his kids, wife, Michelle McCool. He got a new son. It's actually a baby, like an infant son. And I was like, wait a minute, this dude's almost 60. He got an infant son? But yeah, he got a baby. Like, wow. He told a story about his mom getting worked by Sid, which was absolutely hilarious. Apparently Sid had him in a chin lock and started shit talking his mom, who was in the second row, which was great. He thanked Vince McMahon for the lessons that he taught him, giving him the chance of a lifetime, and the reason that he's standing there today, that Vince McMahon changed his life, that he was a loyal friend, a father figure, especially after his father died, and that Vince always knew what he needed, whether it was a pat on the back, a hug, or a kick in the ass. And then he kind of made some jokes about, the matches Vince put him in, like the Punjabi prison and the Hell in a Cell, which I thought was pretty funny too. Then he kind of did another little gag as people were chanting one more match, which they always do. He put his hat on, his jacket, and he said, "Never say never," which led a lot of people to believe that, he's going to be the opponent for Seth Rollins tomorrow. And I'm like, I don't know about that one, dog. He said numerous times that he just doesn't think he can get one more out of him. I don't believe it's going to happen. But there were some people who are noticeably absent from Undertaker's speech. He didn't mention Savio Vega, but I'm guessing that's just, BSK stuff that, he was talking about. He didn't mention Mick Foley. He didn't mention Austin, but it's impossible to mention everybody, it's impossible to mention everybody. But obviously there were some omissions, some glaring omissions from that list. But I thought it was probably one of the greatest Hall of Fame speeches I ever heard. It wasn't like Scott Hall's Hall of Fame speech or the Ultimate Warrior's Hall of Fame final thing from Raw. There was no line in it that if you could take out of it by itself and put it on a t-shirt or put it in a video package, It's like you have to sit through the whole thing in order to get the entire gravity of what he was trying to do and what he was trying to say. And it was a great story. He's a great storyteller, because it was, meet the man under the black hat and all of the lessons that made him who he is. That it was, 3 big lessons that you learned about him and what he was doing and how he was behaving and what changed his behavior. So it was a great story that he told in speech form, and he didn't have to stand still at the podium. He had a headset, which is smart, and everybody should have headsets. They should have headsets all the time. I don't understand why they still have microphones and carrying them around. I mean, if you're going to do basically what is a play, in the middle of the ring where guys just like Roman Reigns just talking, you might as well just give them headsets and let them walk around. I think we need to evolve the business a little bit with that. I really didn't like the Hall of Fame in terms of it being in front of a live crowd, because the hard cam is the exact same camera that it would be at the building, at the arena, if you're watching a match. So you can see people behind them doing stuff. And when you do the Hall of Fame right after a show, some of those people are still around and they're still like it's a show. Like it's not like it's an award ceremony. Like it's a different concept. It's a different concept. And some of those people don't go away. So yeah, there was a lot of what chants and, people being real extra, yelling out, I love you. I love you, Undertaker. Yeah, you're the man. And so much of that stuff. And yeah, a lot of that would have happened anyway, but at least make that asshole wear a suit or a dress shirt or something with sleeves or some khakis or something. Punish his ass to be there so he shut the fuck up. Like allowing the guy to be so comfortable while he yells and stuff in the background. It's like, nah, make him uncomfortable. Spend all that money on the Hall of Fame and everybody else is dressed up and you show up dressed up too, damn it. But they filled that building up. The building was full and it was rocking. And the 2 speeches that I did watch were really fun. I really wish I had not stayed up and watched them both though. Really wish I'd have stuck to my original plan and just waited until Monday. But hey, we all got to make sacrifices, There's no shame, and I don't want to be mediocre. So I stayed up and I watched it, and just gonna tack it on to Smackdown. So, but let me know what you guys thought of Undertaker's Hall of Fame speech. Did you think it was too long? I really didn't notice how long it was because it was so engaging. I didn't notice it was that long, but it was very long, but it was worth it, and I think it was probably the biggest Hall of Fame speech, and the Hall of Fame probably has peaked at this point because I don't know how you go up from here. Maybe The Rock, it can go up, but I don't know if The Rock could do 50 minutes. The Rock probably do a regular 10, 15 minute speech. So I think the Hall of Fame is kind of peaked at this point. Like, I don't know what else can you do. I'm sure they'll find some way. I'm sure there's some people that are not in there that probably should be. But let me know what you guys thought of this whole thing about SmackDown and about the Hall of Fame. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. And peace out. And I'll talk to you guys later.